Iceland, nature is not just a scenery, it is a living, unpredictable, and dominant force. In this land shaped by active volcanoes, millennia-old glaciers, biting winds, and unforgiving seas, life has found extraordinary ways to resist. Between the fire that emerges from the Earth's interior and the ice that covers vast landscapes, there is a little explored wild world where each animal bears the mark of extreme adaptation. This documentary delves into this raw territory to reveal how Icelandic wildlife survives in one of the most challenging environments on the planet. Here the silence is broken by the sound of the wind and waves crashing against gigantic cliffs. The seasons change radically, alternating months of near-total darkness with endless days of light. In this extreme scenario, unique species have learned to live among absolute contrasts. Throughout this journey, we will meet animals that not only inhabit Iceland, but represent the spirit of this untamed land, where survival requires strength, intelligence, and balance with nature. Among the birds that challenge the icy skies is the puffin, small in size but gigantic in endurance. It turns the steep cliffs into home and the icy ocean into a food source, showing how even the most delicate creatures can thrive in harsh conditions. In the open fields and icy tundras, the Arctic fox emerges as a symbol of perfect adaptation, changing its coat with the seasons and facing the extreme cold with precise survival strategies. In the cold waters of the North Atlantic, the seal dominates the marine environment, alternating moments of rest on the rocks with deep dives in search of food. Its presence reveals the richness of the Icelandic Ocean and the importance of icy seas for the balance of wildlife. On dry land, crossing plains and volcanic areas, the reindeer travels long distances in search of food, keeping alive a tradition of migration and resistance inherited from generations. And scattered across the open landscapes, braving intense winds and low temperatures, are Icelandic sheep, one of the oldest symbols of human nature coexistence in Iceland. Rustic and independent, they represent the ability to adapt to the environment and the deep connection between the Icelandic people and this land shaped by extremes. Throughout this documentary, you will discover how these animals face the cold, scarcity, and sudden changes in the climate, revealing not only stories of survival, but lessons about balance, resilience, and respect for nature. Wild Iceland is not a place of comfort. It is a territory where only the most prepared thrive. Get ready to explore a land where fire meets ice, where life defies limits, and where every creature plays an essential role in this unique ecosystem. This is Iceland at its purest, wildest, truest, a journey through one of the planet's last natural frontiers, where survival is an art shaped by the Earth itself. The puffin, known to many as the clown of the sea, is one of Iceland's most iconic birds. With its colorful beak, compact body, and curious look, it may seem fragile at first glance, but it is, in fact, a true survivor of the most hostile environments of the North Atlantic. For much of the year, the puffin lives on the high seas, braving icy waters, violent waves, and intense winds, returning to dry land only during the breeding season. This life divided between the ocean and the cliffs reveals an extreme adaptation to two completely different worlds. Icelandic cliffs are chosen as nesting sites because they offer protection from terrestrial predators. There, the puffin digs tunnels deep in the ground or uses natural cracks in the rocks to house its young. This behavior demonstrates intelligence and strategy, essential to ensure the survival of the species in an environment where mistakes are rarely forgiven. During the summer, thousands of puffins gather in these colonies, transforming silent cliffs into true living cities, full of movement and characteristic sound. At sea, the puffin reveals an impressive skill as a hunter. Its short wings, which on land look clumsy, become real tools of propulsion underwater. It dives to great depths and swims with agility, catching small fish such as herring and capples. One of the most fascinating aspects of the puffin is its ability to hold multiple fish at once in its beak, thanks to a special structure that keeps the prey trapped while it continues hunting. This efficiency is vital to feed the hatchlings in an environment where each trip to the sea requires a high expenditure of energy. Cold adaptation is another essential element of puffin survival. Its dense and waterproof feathers work as a natural thermal insulation, protecting the body from icy waters and constant winds. In addition, blood circulation in the legs and beak is adjusted to minimize heat loss, a common strategy among birds living in polar and subpolar regions. Every detail of the puffin's body is the result of thousands of years of evolution in response to Iceland's extreme environment. Despite its charismatic appearance, the puffin faces increasing challenges. Climate change has affected the availability of fish, forcing the bird to travel longer distances in search of food. The warming of the oceans alters the marine balance, directly impacting the reproductive success of the species. In some regions, the puffin population is already showing signs of decline, making their conservation a growing concern for scientists and environmentalists. Culturally, the puffin holds a special place in Iceland. It is a national symbol representing the connection between the Icelandic people and the sea. Its presence on the cliffs marks the arrival of summer and reinforces the importance of natural cycles for human and animal life. Protecting the puffin also means protecting the oceans, the cliffs, and the entire ecosystem that sustains life in this land of extremes. Watching a puffin in flight, defying strong winds and precipices, is to witness the essence of wild Iceland. It represents the delicate line between fragility and resistance, showing that even in the harshest environments on the planet, life finds ways to thrive. The puffin is not just a bird, it is a symbol of the adaptation, perseverance, and silent force of Icelandic nature. The Arctic fox is Iceland's most iconic land mammal and one of the creatures best adapted to the planet's extreme cold. In a land where temperatures can plummet rapidly, winds are constant, and food is not always available, this fox not only survives, but thrives. Small in size but extraordinary in endurance, it is a true symbol of evolutionary intelligence shaped by ice and scarcity. Unlike other species, the Arctic fox was the only land mammal native to Iceland after the last ice age. It arrived on the island by crossing ice bridges that connected the territory to the European mainland, settling in a virtually unrivaled environment. Since then, it has become a centerpiece of the Icelandic ecosystem, adapting to frozen plains, open tundras, coastal cliffs, and remote volcanic areas. One of its most impressive features is the ability to change the color of its coat according to the seasons. In winter, its white coat camouflages it perfectly in the snow, making it almost invisible. In summer, the fur takes on shades of brown and gray, allowing the fox to blend into the rocky landscape and dark soil. This change is not just aesthetic, but an essential strategy for hunting and protection against predators. The Arctic fox is extremely opportunistic in its feeding. In an environment where scarcity is the rule, it adapts to what is available. It feeds on seabirds, eggs, fish, small mammals, insects, and even carcasses left by other predators or the sea. In coastal regions, it follows bird colonies and explores what the ocean brings to land, demonstrating an intimate relationship between Iceland's terrestrial and marine environment. During the harshest winter months when hunting becomes even more difficult, the fox relies on its ability to store body fat and its extremely dense coat, considered one of the warmest among all mammals. Its short ears and compact muzzle reduce heat loss, while its paws are covered in hair, allowing it to walk on snow and ice without freezing. Reproduction occurs in the spring, when conditions begin to improve. The burrows are dug into protected hillsides, many of them used for several generations. Some of these burrows have dozens of entrances and internal chambers, forming veritable underground labyrinths. This complex structure protects the hatchlings from cold, wind, and potential threats, ensuring greater chances of survival in an unforgiving environment. Despite its extraordinary adaptation, the Arctic fox also faces modern challenges. Climate change alters snow patterns and affects their natural camouflage, as well as influencing food availability. The growing human presence in remote areas also interferes with their traditional territories. Still, the Arctic fox remains one of the clearest examples of resilience of Icelandic fauna. To see an Arctic fox silently crossing the tundra is to witness the perfect harmony between form and function. Every detail of his body and behavior reflects the constant struggle for survival in one of the most extreme environments on Earth. She's not just a wild Icelandic animal, it is a living symbol of adaptation, persistence, and the delicate balance that sustains life where ice dominates the landscape. In the cold waters surrounding Iceland, where the North Atlantic meets icy Arctic currents, seals are some of the oldest and most adapted inhabitants of this extreme environment. They represent the direct link between the marine world and the rocky landscapes of the Icelandic coast, living in a territory where the intense cold and rough seas define the rules of survival. For these creatures, the ocean is not just a habitat, but a constant challenge that requires strength, endurance, and precision. Seals spend most of their lives in the sea, where they find food and protection. Their elongated and hydrodynamic bodies allow them to swim with great efficiency, saving energy even over long distances. The front and rear fins act as true natural rudders, ensuring control and agility in turbulent waters. Beneath the icy surface, seals are silent hunters, chasing fish, crustaceans, and cephalopods with quick, calculated movements. One of the main adaptations of seals to the Icelandic environment is the thick layer of blubber under the skin, known as blubber. This layer works as thermal insulation, keeping the body temperature stable even in extremely cold waters. In addition, blubber serves as an energy reserve during periods when food becomes scarce, especially in winter. This trait is essential for survival in an ocean where conditions can change rapidly. Despite their skill in the sea, seals also depend on land. Coastal rocks, sandbars, and small islands serve as resting, molting, and breeding grounds. In these areas, they form temporary colonies, where young are born and spend their first days of life. The bond between mother and calf is strong, and the first moments are crucial for learning basic skills that will ensure survival in the ocean. The social behavior of seals varies by species, but many demonstrate complex interactions, including vocalizations, body postures, and disputes over territory. These behaviors are critical to group organization and reproductive success. At the same time, seals need to be constantly on their toes, as natural predators and human presence pose constant threats in coastal areas. Seals play a vital ecological role in the marine balance. As predators, they help regulate populations of fish and other organisms, contributing to the health of the ocean ecosystem. Their presence indicates the environmental quality of the waters, as they are sensitive to pollution and changes in fish stocks. When seal populations decline, it often signals wider problems in the marine environment. In recent decades, seals have faced new challenges. Ocean pollution, warming waters, and human interference in coastal zones have impacted their habitats and food sources. Even so, they continue to demonstrate remarkable adaptability, resisting in one of the harshest seas on the planet. Conservation efforts in protected areas are key to ensuring that these populations remain healthy. Watching a seal slowly emerge from the water, resting on a rock under the gray Icelandic sky, is to witness tranquility amidst the brutality of nature. They symbolize the balance between strength and serenity, showing that survival in the Arctic does not depend only on aggressiveness, but on precise adaptation and harmony with the environment. Seals are silent guardians of Iceland's seas, essential to the continuity of life in this territory shaped by ice and ocean. In the vast plains of eastern Iceland, where the terrain alternates between lava fields, open tundras, and snow-covered areas for much of the year, the reindeer is a quiet and resilient presence. Introduced to the country in the 18th century, this species found in Iceland a challenging environment, but suited to its impressive capacity for adaptation. Today, reindeer are part of the Icelandic wilderness, symbolizing endurance, constant movement, and survival amid weather extremes. Reindeer are migratory animals, moving according to the seasons in search of food and more favorable conditions. During the summer, they take advantage of the long days of continuous light to feed intensely, accumulating energy to face the harsh winter. In the cold months, they move to lower and protected areas where the snow is less deep and access to vegetation becomes possible. This migration pattern is essential for your survival in an environment where resources are limited and unpredictable. One of the most notable adaptations of the reindeer is its thick, highly insulating coat. Composed of hollow hairs that trap air, it offers efficient protection against extreme cold and biting winds. In addition, their wide legs work as real natural rackets, distributing their body weight and allowing them to walk on snow without sinking. These characteristics make the reindeer perfectly equipped to traverse icy landscapes and uneven terrain. The reindeer diet in Iceland is mainly based on grasses, mosses, lichens, and small shrubs. During the winter, when snow covers much of the ground, they use their hooves to dig and reach hidden food. This behavior requires constant physical effort, making energy efficiency a crucial factor for survival. Every move is calculated, as wasting energy can mean not making it through the harshest cold months. Socially, reindeer live in groups that vary in size according to the season. In summer, large flocks can be observed, while in winter, groups tend to split into smaller units. This organization reduces competition for food and makes it easier to adapt to adverse conditions. Communication between individuals occurs through vocalizations, body postures, and subtle movements, ensuring group cohesion during long journeys. Despite their strength and endurance, reindeer also face threats. Climate change alters snow cover and affects food availability, making migratory patterns less predictable. Human presence, roads, and economic activities also fragment their territories, making natural travel difficult. Responsible management and monitoring of populations are essential to maintain the balance between conservation and human activity. Culturally, the reindeer occupies an important symbolic space, associated with life in cold regions and survival in extreme environments. In Iceland, his image is linked to remote landscapes and the idea of untouched nature. Watching a reindeer slowly cross a snow-covered lava field is to witness the harmony between animal and environment, an example of how life molds itself to the harshest conditions. The reindeer represents the continuous movement of life in wild Iceland. She reminds us that surviving in this territory requires constant adaptation, respect for natural cycles, and a deep connection with the land. Amid the fire and ice, the reindeer follows its silent path, keeping alive one of the most remarkable stories of Icelandic fauna.
The Icelandic sheep is much more than an ordinary animal in the Icelandic landscape. It is a living symbol of resistance, adaptation, and coexistence between human beings and extreme nature. Introduced by the first Norse settlers more than 1,000 years ago, this breed has remained largely unchanged over the centuries, shaped solely by the harsh conditions of the island. Intense winds, low temperatures, rocky terrain, and sudden changes in weather have turned the Icelandic sheep into one of the most rustic domestic animals in the world. One of the most striking features of the Icelandic sheep is its double wool, which is made up of two distinct layers. The outer layer is long and water-resistant, protecting the animal from rain, snow, and wind. The inner layer is soft and highly insulating, maintaining body heat even in the harshest winters. This combination allows sheep to survive outdoors for much of the year, something unthinkable in many other regions of the planet. During the summer, Icelandic sheep graze freely over vast natural areas, including lava fields, mountainous slopes, and open plains. This extensive grazing system reflects an ancestral relationship with the land, where animals exploit the environment in an almost wild way. They move long distances in search of food, developing physical endurance and an impressive ability to orient themselves in difficult terrain. The diet of these sheep is based on grasses, herbs, mosses, and other cold-hardy plants. This simple but efficient diet contributes to their health and adaptation to the environment. Even in areas where vegetation is scarce, sheep are able to extract the maximum amount of available nutrients, demonstrating remarkable energy efficiency. This ability is critical in a territory where plant growth is limited for short summer periods. In addition to its ecological importance, the Icelandic sheep has a profound cultural role. It is directly linked to the history and survival of the Icelandic people, providing wool, meat, and sustenance for generations. The relationship between humans and sheep has shaped traditions, routines, and even the occupation of the territory. In many regions, roads are shared with loose herds, reinforcing the idea of coexistence between society and nature. Despite its hardiness, the Icelandic sheep also faces modern challenges. Climate change affects the natural growth cycles of vegetation, while the expansion of infrastructure can limit traditional grazing areas. The sustainable management of these herds is essential to preserve both the animal and the ecosystems it occupies, avoiding soil degradation and maintaining environmental balance. The Icelandic sheep also contributes to local biodiversity. Its grazing helps control the growth of vegetation, preventing the excessive advance of certain plants and maintaining open landscapes that favor other species. In this way, it acts as an active agent in maintaining ecological balance, even though it is a domesticated animal. Watching an Icelandic sheep braving strong winds under a heavy sky is to witness the essence of wild Iceland. It represents the ability to adapt in the face of adversity and the deep connection between human life and the natural environment. In a land of fire and ice, the Icelandic sheep stands firm, silent, and resilient, carrying with it centuries of history and survival shaped by the earth itself. Wild Iceland is a vivid portrait of the brute force of nature. Between active volcanoes, gigantic glaciers, icy seas, and relentless winds, life has found surprising ways to exist. Throughout this documentary, we follow animals that not only inhabit this extreme land, but that define it. The puffin, Arctic fox, seal, reindeer, and Icelandic sheep represent different forms of adaptation, endurance, and balance in one of the most challenging environments on the planet. Each of these species reveals a history of survival shaped by thousands of years of evolution. The puffin dominates the sky and ocean, braving cliffs and icy waters with precision. The Arctic fox traverses silent tundra, changing its appearance to camouflage itself and ensure food. Seals turn extreme cold to an advantage, sailing efficiently in the northern seas. Reindeer follow their migratory cycles, respecting the rhythm of the land and the seasons. And Icelandic sheep, a symbol of coexistence between human beings and nature, show that adaptation can also be born from coexistence. These animals do not live in isolation. They are part of a delicate system where every change in climate, ocean, or landscape generates profound impacts. The transformations caused by global warming, human interference, and the alteration of natural habitats threaten this balance built over centuries. Protecting wild Iceland means respecting nature's limits and recognizing that even the most resilient environments have a tipping point. More than a visual spectacle, this day is an invitation to reflection. Iceland reminds us that nature doesn't have to be tamed to be great. It exists at its own pace, imposing clear rules on anyone who dares to cross it. Observing these animals is to understand that survival depends on adaptation, patience, and respect for natural cycles. If this documentary has awakened in you admiration for this land of fire and ice, be part of this journey of valuing nature. Subscribe to the channel to continue exploring wild places and real stories of animal life around the world. Leave your like to support this content and help bring these stories to more people. And share your experience with us. Comment where you are watching from and which of these animals impressed you the most. By knowing and respecting wildlife, we take an important step towards preserving it. Iceland will remain an untamed land, but the future of its animals depends on the choices made today. This documentary ends here, but the story of wilderness continues, and you are part of it.